Mm-mm. Oh shit! You started. Damn it! My bad. I did not pay attention to that damn corner of the
It's
screen.
okay. Can edit.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Big Gold Belt review of the new MGM Plus original series, The Emperor at Ocean's Park. It's your boy Lucas with my guy Najir. What is going on this evening, my brother?
What's up, dog? How you feeling?
Hey, man, I'm just here. I'm here, and we're here to go timelines galore in the Emperor of Ocean Park here. As today we are here to talk about episode 2 of this new series. And first thing I want to do is just let the audience know we understand. A new timeline was introduced in this episode. It may throw you off a little bit. Just pay attention to everything that's going on around you. The Joan is interesting, but it will throw you off a little bit. And speaking of throwing you off a little bit, we're going to start off with the beginning episode, which happens to be another flashback to 2007. And this is to do with the confirmation hearing of Judge Garland. Here, we get another grilling from the senator as he's now questioning Greg Moto about the judge's relationship with Jack Ziegler. What do you think, especially after the way the first episode ended? And we ended with that explosive revelation of Jack and Tyler at the end of the episode, that we then go immediately back to 2007 so we can see kind of where we're at with the ramifications with everything with the judge.
Yeah, I started to think about like how accurate these hearings, or not hearings, confirmations are. Like this is really intense, but I guess the media only shows certain aspects of this at times. But yeah, I thought that it was very intense, and I think there was a lot of tempers flaring. I think it makes the audience a little uneasy because you don't really know who to side with, and especially I think in a very traditional way that he's a very conservative, or he's supposed to be a conservative judge, and to see a white man across from him who you would assume is also conservative is very much guns are blazing at him. So I'm kind of like, who's on whose side? But I think it is just painting one very important thing, and that's that Jack is the true villain of everything as of right now. He's the most connected man, and anybody who's aligned with him, obviously things to come. And I think it's also eerie too, because they kind of painted this idea of like anybody he's around ends up dying. Well, well, if there's one person that's going to be happy about that, it's going to be Mariah for sure. So,
hey, they do a great job of pinpointing just how some of these hearings go. If you've seen some of them live and in person, they are just a fascinating sight to see, of just seeing the sides battle each other over someone you kind of already assume, no matter what, you're going to confirm them. So that's what makes this one so interesting with the judge, because we see this liberal senator attacking him on every front humanly possible, even bringing up witnesses to completely tear apart everything the judge told them before. So to me, it's a beautiful setup just to show you exactly where we're going to end up by the end of this episode, getting to with the judge. Now, next up, we go right back to present day as the family is gathered at the judge's residence after the service. As we all know, family's over there, and then Tal goes looking for the scrapbook that he found at the end of last episode, and he is pinpointed on this chess piece. And if you pay attention to the first episode, it's brought up just how much him and his dad would play chess with one another. So now he's pinpointed on finding this chess piece out. Now I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here with you, because I know your answer is going to have to, because that's the only way this is going to work. Did you think the chess piece would hold the relevance that it does for the remainder of the episode? Or did you think the scrapbook would be the piece that we would see the most about?
Yeah, I'm a little 50-50 on that. I think if it wasn't for all of the promotional material with this show, I would have said easily the scrapbook. But because there's been so much emphasis on chess pieces with everything they've been promoting with the show, you're like, you know it has to pay. It's going to have some type of major payoff at some point. So yeah, when I saw, I was like, all right, good, all right, I see where we're going at with this now. And obviously, we got just the start of it, but I mean, like, Yeah, I definitely felt like it has that same level of degree as with the scrapbook, the implication from the scrapbook from the previous episode.
Exactly, especially just the way we get Tal running around asking everyone humanly possible. First, Sally, he's bothering her during her morning mimosa, asking her, did she go take something in the judge's office? Then he asks Mariah, she took it. Asks the kids, kind of implies maybe the brother took it, and like, no, like it's just great the way they set up just how big a reveal this needed to be to find out exactly who went into the judge's office. Because that's the key part here, more than anything else, is who the heck went into his office and who would have taken these items out of his office.
Hey, the mimosas and Fruit Loops is a diabolical start of the day. Hey, whatever she's on later on, just know
that stomach about to go crazy at the skating ring. Like, hey, ain't nobody saying, let me get champagne and Fruit Loops and milk
ever
first thing in the morning.
But don't get these
as far from the breakfast of champions as could be.
Yeah, don't get these day parties no ideas, because you know they will.
Hey, that's the that you know already know that's the next was it Viva Sports Center day party. Mimosas and Fruit Loops.
Yeah.
But by the end of this scene, what we do get is the big reveal of the FBI stopping by to ask Tal questions. Now here it's not shown exactly what they were going to be talking about or what they were going to be asking. It's just the point that they showed up. So I am going to stay here for a minute because I think we can kind of end out some of the other things in the episode from this conversation with the FBI. As we see first, the first thing Tal thinks they're there for is to talk about Kimmer and her confirmation hearing, because clearly that is something that was brought up that he needed to be questioned about, because the same thing the judge went through is the same thing she's about to go through. Maybe not for the Supreme Court seat the judge was going to, but just for a federal judge seat that she's going out for. So, one, what'd you think about him thinking that was it? And then the flip happening of them like, we didn't even know that was going on with you. We're here strictly to talk about Jack and what's going on with Jack.
Yeah, it raises the eyebrows. It instantly raises the eyebrows. They're like, who are these guys? And the FBI, they try to say the FBI can have whatever bit of strategies and tactics. You just never know what you're going to get with them. But I gotta tell you, this felt very much like I'm sure there's going to be something that comes back to this. And later on the episode, obviously pans truth to that, to my statement. But I definitely felt like, this doesn't seem right. I put my suspicion antennas up right away.
Exactly. And this is the first time we get a hint of a character we've not seen yet, as he's repeatedly asked about Lisa. Like no other context given on who possibly Lisa could be, but just the name is mentioned, and they're mentioning it over and over again. Like this is something Tal definitely should know who this person is. So that's just a little nugget that the show's going to throw out there just to keep you on track with the mystery that involves this show. Next up, we go back to 2007, back to the confirmation hearing. And again, this is a senator doing what he does here, as he is painting Jack to be the biggest menace humanly possible here. I don't think it's much more or nuance to talk about here. We understand exactly what the goal is here. The goal is to paint Jack as being so bad that it completely destroys any chance of this judge being put on the Supreme Court. If you saw anything with what?
I can't think of like a good analogy that's like, should I say sensitive? But this would be like this would be like on the lines of saying, like, because you can't even say Donald Trump because that hasn't hurt anybody. But in the likes of like Harvey Weinstein or somebody, like you're like, I seen y'all running kind of tight, and they're like, no, that there's no matter however you want to spin this is not a good look for you. It's this is not going to work. So this is definitely almost like, for lack of a better word, we'll just say like the college institutional term of the death penalty in terms of his affiliation with him. So it's really interesting how much they built with Judge Garland over a couple of different scenes, understanding how he kind of fell back into a mild measure of depression, shall we say, or isolation, however you want to call it, because of these events. And this has been a man that they kind of established over 2 episodes now to always be very calculated. So it's interesting to see that Jack really does have that much power in whatever way it works, to one's benefits or to one's detriment.
And I think the judge says it perfectly. One, I'm loyal to my friends. I'm not going to turn my back. Like, the judge really tried his best to pinpoint it, saying he's my friend. Like, in the end, no matter what you think, before we both got into these positions, we were friends. I'm not going to turn my back on him all of a sudden because of this. And keep in mind, if you're really paying attention to everything the senator is saying, everything he's saying is alleged. None of this is proven that Jack has done any of this.
Yeah.
All of it is alleged, but it's just enough to put enough dirt on the judge's name that just have him in a tizzy in that whole scene. I think that's the best part of the scene, is to see the stammering going back and forth with the judge and him trying to get his words out, and the senator like, nope, I'm gonna keep on talking over you. I'm not gonna let you get anything out. We've seen this before. We've seen I'm reclaiming my time a multitude of times.
For real.
That's just a good setup right there with the judge following that. But next up, we go right back to the present day. This is the bouncing that this show does here. It's not always the easiest thing to follow as we go right back to the present time here. And this is just the FBI, as we kind of talked about already, just talking to Tal. That's all this is. Them trying to get as much information out of him as humanly possible here. This is, again, just to set up everything that we're going to get right back again with the Lisa question, and right back again with Mariah and everything that's going to come from that. Then we go right back to 2007 as we get the judge finally stepping down. This is where he gives up everything, doesn't want to be a judge anymore, part of the Supreme Court, and then step down from his federal judge position, which that's the rare thing here. That does not happen. Even if you don't get nominated to the Supreme Court and your confirmation fails, you don't step down as a judge. This is the part where we see all the depression, as you said, and isolation kick in for the judge. So here I'm gonna just focus on that element of this episode here. What'd you think about, one, his speech about stepping down, his conversation with Tal afterwards, as Tal was the only member of the family to stay, saying, I know he needs someone to be there with, to have this conversation with. And then just all the isolation that happens after that, and him falling in love with the song on his tombstone also in this scene.
Yeah, it's a lot, and some I kind of probably should have watched over again to kind of give a little bit of a better understanding. But just to kind of talk about the father-son relationship here, I think that always, I think especially in present time, it makes you understand why he was such a champion for his father. He was loyal to him regardless, and even in the time where you could be considered, I don't know, all sorts of different negative like labels attached to him in terms of either being a failure or or quitting, shall I say. He still was beside him, and I think that like maybe the judge was I don't know. There's a part of me that feels like maybe he wasn't expecting his son to accept him for this. And I think them bonding over the music and just getting back to like, who they are as just father son without all the political ramifications, I think was like something that aided him. But I think, again, this is a man who's always been the leader, who's always been calculated, always had a plan. And now that doesn't exist, he's fell back into recluse. But then, and I'm not sure if this happened here, but I think he also, at some point he talks about like the optics of what does it mean for him doing that and how that doesn't look right for the family. Like for anything, stand on your pride at least. This whole falling back now is labeled with words like disgrace, and that's not at all the reflection of who you are. So like, and I think I appreciated the bond. I think that's what I'm really starting to like with the show is like there obviously is a murder mystery aspect to it, but like I am really loving like the character arcs and seeing how these characters are meshing with one another's, and then the different dynamics between the kids, and then we see how their relationships with their fathers, even to the point now that we also see how their relationship with their fathers dictate their approach to this murder or homicide. Whatever, however they want to look at it, or natural causes, shall I say. So Yeah, and then the other part. What was the other part you mentioned?
Just the isolation that he goes through afterwards, because that was also a huge highlight. Even down to the mom understanding the only child that was going to be able to pull him out of that isolation was Tal, and then the creative way that Tal pulls him out of that isolation, which was playing on the judge's ego.
Yeah.
When you tell a father, like, man, I can't use you as help because look at you. You're disgraced right now. Yeah. And then you're hiding away, so no one's gonna really listen to anything you got to say.
Yeah.
It was a perfect strategy of hers, because she understood her son will understand the best way to pull his father out of that funk.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an awesome setup there. But
yeah, he wanted a copy of Nas on tape. Yeah, my man was dated there. He's like, nah, we don't see these nowadays.
Talk about I Can't Forget About You song off of that's off of Hip Hop Is Dead by Nas. Yeah. And he might as well say, hey, give me it on A-Track. Next up, we get back to the present day, and this is Mariah wanting to know more information about the FBI and what they question Tal about. This is her again attempting to say, as she puts it perfectly, what do they think Uncle Jack killed Dad? Like, it's her trying to find a way to blame everything on Jack that happens with her dad. What did you think about Mariah's obsession this episode? Because that's the big piece with her here, is how she's dealing in these 2 episodes with her father's death. And then it kind of feels like instead of grieving, she's went directly into obsession about everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's probably going to take me a couple of episodes to really put this thought together. But I think, yeah, the responses of how the kids are handling their grieving is interesting, because Tal was basically labeled as like really not processing and just trying to get back to normal. And Ari said there is no normal after something like this. But, you know, that's not how he operates. And you know, I think Mariah has a lot of pride, and obviously she's very, very focused on self, her image, and also trying to be the alpha in the family. So there's always going to be a bumpy head factor with Tal. But I think she also wants to be right. Not only just right, but she feels very righteous in her approach in terms of which makes me know that Jack did not do this, because it just would be insane. It'd just be insane. But she feels so righteous in blaming Uncle Jack, and even with not even having much, but just a hunch, shall I say, or just whatever, because that was obviously what we'll talk about a little bit later with the preacher. But yeah, but so like, yeah, it's just interesting that I think this is really self-driven, and her just feeling of righteousness because she wants to be right. And I think she doesn't want to be right because she wants to solve the murder. I think she wants to be right so she can say, I'm right. I figured it out.
That's it. Yeah.
So
it's a control thing with her.
1,000%.
That's the big part. It's all control.
Yeah, the small breakfast scene with the kids was all you need to know about who she is as a character. Very, very easy, ready to jump the gun. I mean, she responds, she reacts before she listens at times. Like, it's a complex character. And then I think last episode you really got to understand that maybe she felt like she always had to do this. And I also think that that's sort of a complex with Black women in terms of the business fields. Like, they always got to work 10 times harder and always got to prove that they belong. And I think because of her being the judge's daughter, it also just added even more pressure for that. And also because she's in politics as well. Like, she just takes that same type of demeanor from the workforce into the household, that everything around her feels like a job. Interacting with her brother seems like a job. You know, it's always like a stand your ground with him. And and Tal knows how to handle his sister, because he's at all never defensive with her. He doesn't try to combat. He just kind of let her hear some moment. He gets his points, but like, it doesn't feel like he's trying to stand toe to toe with her. He knows his space. I think she's trying to ensure her position at all times.
Yeah. And the more another interesting take on how to view both of them two is Tal acts like the judge before the confirmation hearing. Mariah acts like the judge after he became the TV star. And you see how fiery he is. And then when she's mentioned and how she operates is mentioned, she's more mentioned like the daughter of that TV personality, while Tal is close to being looked like as the son of the judge beforehand, where they may have had different political views, but the judge at one point was extremely soft-spoken on everything. And then he changed. And it seems like Mariah picked up on that change more than she did the soft-spoken man who raised her. I think that form of duality between them two is extremely interesting and going to be a take for the rest of this show that this guy to pay attention to. Next up, in present day, while at the skating ring. Now, it's not much to mention here, except for we always say it on every show, you don't get a name of a character that's out the blue not important anymore. And here is Tal as he's flirting with someone at the skating ring named Maxine. That's all we get to, because the moment she sees his wedding ring, then she turns everything off, or we're going to assume that. I'm just going to say, pay a lot of attention to this character, because they did not bring this character in just to hit on Tal for one episode and then go away.
or they did, and they just want to establish that Tal attracts married women his entire life. I mean,
no, look, she wasn't married. He was married. She was.
Oh, you're right. You're right. You're right.
You're right. You're right.
You're right. You're right.
She said, "But I'm not playing in another woman's garden."
Yeah. No. You're right. But I guess it's one of those type of things where, like, we see him married there, and she throws it at him. He also got thrown at it from a woman. Yeah, my man's just that man. That's all it is. He gets a little bit of everything going on in his life.
We can say that now, but we're definitely going to touch on when we get to the end part of this episode between him and his wife. Now you understand why he thinks she's cheating on him. Because what they always say, you lose
what goes around comes around. Oh yeah.
Next up, though, we actually go back to 2007, and this is Tal meeting with some senior faculty members. And this is where he meets, at this point, named Kimberly for the first time. This is when they first have their first interaction, first meet with each other, as this is one of the most awkward scenes of this episode. From Tal, for some odd reason, around all of these influent, well-educated Caucasian folks, to spit a Lil Wayne bar at them and expect them to know what he is talking about. The moment he said real G's moving silence like lasagna, and they were, excuse me, like lasagna, is that the food we're having this evening? But it was just here is all about the interaction with Kimberly, as she also goes on to make what I'm guessing was a confusing comment to them. Again, another part of the Black community comments that they did not pick up on.
Yeah.
But the interesting part is after that, it's the conversation between Kimberly and Tal here about him needing to speak up more, him being more of a man and going after what he wants. And then we get the scene between them two in the bathroom. Just not even the scene in the bathroom, because that's not the important element. The important element is, what did you think about this first interaction between them two? And how she here tends to really take over everything for him, basically telling him, you need to step up as a man. And this is their first time meeting, saying this to Tal. Did you think that gives you some insight on how their relationship is in the present day?
All right, Phil. So for him, the drinks were flowing. Him slipping his hand on her leg, I definitely did not see that resulting into her with the very much like meet me in the bathroom gesture. I didn't see that coming at all. I guess if there's one thing I will say that the episode didn't do a good job as in terms of really building how their relationship grown to what it is now, which except for establishing like you got her cheating, it's very possible that you know she may still have these kind of habits still within her.
Yep.
But I guess her way of trying to encourage him in a masculating way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I gotta think about that for a little bit. until you question it, I'm like, I didn't see no harm in it. I'm not trying to sway my opinion about it, but I don't know if it was just a sign of who she ultimately becomes with him. But I will say, in the present day, by no means does she try to consider his perspective about anything. It is always about how she wants things to be viewed. It's about the optics, and the focus is on her and her nomination. As long as she's happy, as long as it's going her way, it's all good, which means that, is there a control factor here too? Is he surrounded by just controlling women?
I mean, and again, in the very next scene is us back in present day and him telling her about the FBI, and she shuts everything down immediately and says, I don't want you talking about this.
That ain't a good look for me.
Bringing this up. This ain't a good look for me, and it ain't a good look for you. But when she said it ain't a good look for you, please believe she meant it ain't a good look for you towards me. She is very adamant about that. But here is this them going to, this is Uncle Mel's house. And this is Tal going completely opposite of what she said and talking to Uncle Mel about the FBI, talking to him. And because they understand the connections that Uncle Mel has, he had some kitty possibly look into this to find out exactly who these agents are and what they want and what is going on with Uncle Jack. Because this is the biggest question still going on, is why are they so after Uncle Jack? Down to him telling them about the meeting that him and Uncle Jack had after the funeral. Like, this is a big reveal portion of this episode for Tal as he lets everything go with Uncle Mel just so he could get more information on exactly what's going on. And then his wife finds out about it and proceeds to tell him, didn't I tell you not to do that? This is what I mean by possibly that first glimpse in the past of them together and her coming across as a strong, assertive person from the first day that they met, that all that meant was that she's going to always be this way. And then we see the way Tal at times tends to shrink when he's around her. And maybe that's why someone like Maxine giving him a little eye attention and he is willing to stray immediately. Unfortunately, that's exactly the type of stuff that Tal has to deal with, because every woman controls everything he does in his life. He has no control. But next up, we get the first time jump to the new timeline, and that is 2009 here. And this is a meeting between Father Brown and the judge. And here it's been revealed to us that the judge has not kind of been out his house in 2 years. And he says, you have not even been in the church to pray for 2 years. And he asked the judge to pray for him, but the judge flips it. Asks, instead of you praying for me, pray with me. And here it kind of comes across like the judge is concerned about something. What did you just think about this scene between him and Father, who I wanted to call Reverend because I am not accustomed to too many Black fathers? That did not sound right. Y'all know exactly what I mean.
It sounds like there's a concern. Absolutely. The way how he shifted from praying for me to pray together, even the father was kind of like, wait, what? Wait, do you got something you want to get off your chest here? They set that up right, and there is a measure of something with his conscience there. What I guess we don't know as of right now, but there's definitely reasons to be suspicious about that. But I don't know. At this rate now, I feel like he's praying for him because he knew the Grim Reaper was coming. So instead of praying for me, let's pray together, because you got 10 days left. I got 24. So I don't know. But yeah, it definitely was very foreshadowing. The show sets up nothing but suspicion over and over and over. You want to kind of get to the bottom of the case here, but again, at the same time, it's really establishing these characters so that you also are understanding these characters, the characters' dynamics, but you also are able to kind of grow your very organic suspicions about folks. Like the judge, this whole shift to prayer thing literally lets me know that he must know something is coming.
Yeah,
for both.
Exactly.
Because let's not forget he got killed too. So
hey, welcome to the next scene as Mariah and Tal and the kids arrive to go to the church service. The reason why he told Kimber, I can't leave with you because Mariah has it set up for us to go to church, only for them to arrive at the church to find out that Father Brown was murdered the night before. It's not much to talk about, except for the point that amazingly their pastor dies and no one knows about it till you arrive at the church.
Yeah. Wait, was this a scene where I'm trying to figure out, was this a scene where they describe how he died, or wait,
No,
or
this
okay.
is just this is the first opening scene when they get to the church. And she says, and then this is when Mariah comes out and says, wait a minute, if it happens last night, I think we may have a suspect or some information on it. And the woman says, how do you have information on it? You just found out that he was dead.
I let me say that Mariah's very robotic approach to majority of the things she does makes this sort of cleverness so inefficient that I think it's just fantastic acting, because it's like we're not supposed to believe that she can handle herself like this on the fly. Yeah, everything technical or by the book, sure, but this is her kind of, and she fails at it twice. Once in the pews at in the church, and here this one here is just like you're not, it's not working for you. So I enjoy that. I think that's like really great character building to understand that, like, by the book stuff, the political stuff, you know, the A to B stuff, she got it. This on the fly, the detour, a measure of like charisma and finesse, this is not what she does. So it looks awkward.
Down to this being the scene that brought up that she was an investigative reporter at one time. I don't know for who she could have been one for, but when she decided to put her exactly, not even TMZ at this point, she was with Hollywood Unlocked. And but then she tells Tal, I'm going to stay afterwards so I can find out more information about the murders. You go home and you take the kids with you.
Yeah.
And the next scene is Tyler arriving at home and he calls Addison up again, looking for these missing things. Again, not much to talk about in that scene. Just a strict call to his brother, even though Mariah already told him that is not our brother. He is not sentimental. There's no way he would take anything from this house.
Yeah.
He does not care
enough.
So of that nature. And in the next scene, now this is the scene you brought up. I'm going to give her a little bit more credit for the scene, Mariah, when she's sitting in the pew talking to the police officer about Father Brown's death. She clearly stumbles at first because she quickly throws Jack's name out there with no evidence at all that Jack did anything. But then she does the smart play, and that is she turns on all the woman waterworks humanly possible to get this cop to spill his beans on everything that happened to the Reverend, down to saying there's no way an 87-year-old man could have done this because he was tortured before he was killed, and that Reverend Brown was on drugs.
See, I see that a little different. I feel like her response didn't work, and I felt like his response to everything was just kind of just a response. I don't feel like he like cracked him. She cracked him, and she just started spilling everything. But I mean, like, he's just like, well, I feel like it's this, and start describing Jack. And he's just like, well, it couldn't have been Jack. That guy's, oh, this was a measure of torture. It just, the shoe doesn't fit. I don't feel like he went into like drastic details that she would have wanted. But I mean, this obviously helps, but it doesn't really help because her mind is still made up. This didn't help her walk off the limb that is Jack, you know?
Oh no, not at all. It kind of confirmed to her that Jack did it. That's a weird But the reason I'm saying she cracked him is because he did one thing I know for sure would never happen. And it is revealed later on, and we'll just talk about that scene because that's too connected to this one, of her when she goes back to Tal and tells him everything she found out. She tells him, I saw the photos of evidence of this. That never happens. He may tell you some information, but they're not going to show you photographic evidence of it. She said they showed me pictures of the torture. So that tells me the cop fell for it. And she put on the waterworks and she wasn't even really crying. I was super confused how he fell for that.
Seriously.
But clearly he fell for something that she was able to get the rest of that information about him being tortured without his nails pulled from his fingers and all that other stuff. But again, all that did for Mariah is tell her it only could be one person.
Yeah.
Uncle Jack. It's no one else matters at this point. She's
Yeah.
like Fred off a pup named Scooby Doo with red herring. Like no matter what, it's gonna be Uncle Jack.
Or I mean, I know it's a different show, but you can always go back to the classics here.
Oh yeah. I did look. I was looking for another thing to use except for saying, "Bring me Spider-Man." Like that's all she said with Uncle Jack every time here.
Oh my god, it is
Now the next
hilarious.
scene following Mariah's brilliance in deceiving the cop and getting all the information she needed. We went back to 2009. We kind of brought this up before, but this is again a conversation between Tal and his mom. But also, the one part we did not talk about is also this shows kind of the evolution of his relationship with Kimber. Because doing this call with her, he's clearly in a full relationship with Kimber at this point. As the mom just asked to talk, and this is just Tal playing head games with his father. All about him trying to get his job, trying to get every position that he wants, and him saying, "I can't use you. One, the school is leaning extremely liberal, and not only are you a failed judge, but you're a recluse. Like your life fell apart and you went away, and because of that, no one will respect you trying to help me.
Mhm.
Plus, as a man, I got to stand on my own feet." All of those felt like dog whistles to his father. What did you just think about Tal and that whole thing? And it felt like at no point in time was Tal talking about himself.
Nah, entirely right. Literally have nothing else to add to that. That's entirely how I thought about it.
And here we'll stay in 2009 because we already talked about Mariah and everything again with her brilliant deductive skills, finding out uh, that Uncle Jack killed their father. But this is where the judge gets a call, as his wife says again, amazingly, out of all people, Fox News has called again about you, and I'll just tell them you're not accepting calls. And here's where where everything that Tal did worked. The judge says no.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
take the
take that
call.
call. Yep.
I'll take that call. Now I do this. I'm just gonna go and jump ahead with this with the judge. What did you just think about the whole setup here? After he takes that call, after he gets on the news, and this is the birth of the television version of the judge, and kind of the birth, as I brought up earlier, of the man that Mariah tends to uh, follow behind more. Again,
Yeah.
we saw the very quiet judge for the before the hearing, and that is not the man that she's following after.
Yeah.
But this one is the one. Down to if you paid attention to the first episode, and it was a conversation about her political views.
Mhm.
And Addison brings up, you are out the blue for some odd reason, this hard, staunch, conservative extreme right-wing Republican, and you see that this is why, because of her father on this show. Just what did you think about seeing that fire back in the judge as they show him going through segment after segment after segment, ripping
Yeah.
everyone humanly possible?
I mean, first, Forrest Whitaker is a fantastic actor, but we know that. But
Yes.
I think it plays towards the ego.
Mhm.
And then obviously his love language is words of affirmation, because afterwards everybody was like, that's such a good job. And I think he found himself again.
Yeah.
So one way or another, some people find ways to get themselves out of a slump. Sometimes it takes it's not always who says, I mean, not it's not always what's said, it's who says it.
Yeah.
And I think that
Mhm.
that's all it took was the right person, and his son, and he's just getting back to it. And I think that right now he's out to prove himself. He's also probably out to prove Tal wrong too. But
Yes.
yeah, I think it is a pivotal moment into the character. And it was insane work though, again, by
Hey,
Force.
some of the best work of this episode is this the going back and forth about everything and the way he hits on every subject matter. And you see, if you've ever watched one of these news outlets, and not just Fox News, any news outlet, and
Like
you
Wolf
need that,
Blazer.
there you go. No, no, not Wolf Blazer. Wolf don't do this. This is closer to like a Joy Reid or all of them
Yeah,
type of characters. And that, I mean, just that
true.
monstrous character that comes through, and they're going to believe what they're saying, but they understand it's a difference in the way you say things.
Yeah.
If you do it with a little showmanship, you'll get so much. Chris Como, who used to be on CNN, he's famous. Don Lemon,
Don Lemon. Yeah.
When you're just overly anxious on television and it makes your voice seems bigger than it actually is.
Yeah.
And it draws more people in. And that's why they asked the judge at the end, hey, we got a lot more segments. How much would you like to do this? And you just see the light in his eyes, like, oh man, I'm going to love doing this. If I don't love doing nothing else, I have found my niche as being a disgraced Clarence Thomas on Fox News and doing this over and over and over again. But next up, we go back to present day with Tao. This is him and Kimber as they just talk about figuring out everything as they're about to depart one another again, as he's going to stay by the house. Here, the most interesting part is as he goes downstairs in the middle of the night, she's on a secret phone call away from everybody else. This one, what did you think about this? What do you think about the prior conversation they had? I think in this scene also about Tao not jumping to conclusions with things. And then this happens with her.
Yeah, I mean, again, the suspicion now here, and now I'm thinking all types of crazy thoughts. Like, is it really about her nomination here? Is she working with the FBI in air quotation marks? That's why they put her close to the person of interest, son. And this is all by means of them trying to get to Jack. Who knows? There's just a lot of suspicion. I do not find her to be the loyal wife at all. She gives me the suspicious agent of sorts working apart. And this phone call definitely didn't help. Her characteristics didn't help at all. And granted, we could all be wrong, and she ends up just being a wife and just whatever. But like, hell no. I'm keep my eyes on her. Like, yeah. it's hella manipulative. That's what I'll say. Like,
there you go. And this show does a beautiful job at getting you having all these feelings and then say, you know what, we're going to take you back to the past in 2007. After they first met, after their one night encounter. And this is where Tao finds out, after everything, that she's already married when she slept with him.
Yeah.
Like, this is the perfect setup of how do you trust this person? Like, is it, again, as simple as she's cheating on you, or is it more? Because, again, the show's just doing a great job of setting up all of these people and not give you enough hints to figure out who's actually going to be involved and what are they going to be involved in.
Yeah.
But next up, we go to present day, and this is the big conversation between Uncle Mel and Tao. As Uncle Mel asks Tao, would he repeat the name of those FBI agents that came to see you? Tao does, and he proceeds to tell Tao, the FBI one did not send anybody to talk to you. Those names do not exist in the FBI database. Those two people were not agents of the FBI.
Results found.
Yes. What did you think about that reveal this episode, that those agents who came there to press him out were not FBI agents?
I knew it, and now you start to say, well, who are they working for? Because they definitely were muscles, so they're answering to somebody. And it just only confirmed. I think my thoughts about it now is, what does their uncle involvement do, knowing that there is suspicious activity on their doorsteps? You know, you're asking about folks who are claiming to be FBI and they're not. So I'm just interested about what his stance is going on beyond that. But yeah, these guys, they work for somebody. I guess I could take. There's somebody else to still be involved here. There's some other powerful character still in the shadows, and I'm sure they're going to have some attachment to them. But yeah, I was like, I knew it. I knew there was something up with them, and I was like, yep, confirm.
Yeah, and it immediately brought me back to the end of episode 1.
Yeah,
where Uncle Jack said, there are going to be people that's going to come and ask you questions. If you have the answers, I would prefer you tell me first, so I can protect you.
Yeah.
Again, it's just putting in fruition. Like, as much as it may have been framed at first that Jack could have had something to do with it, it's becoming clearer and clearer that is not the case here.
Yeah.
But whatever your dad was into is something that you should have known a lot more about, or either he thinks you're going to figure it out, or the people think you already figured it out that you know this information. It's just a perfect setup for exactly who Tao is, because that's what it's going to come back to play more than anything else. As we've seen them, as Tao always brings up, we played chess, we did these things together. So these are things they feel are strategic moves that you would have gotten this information. And then we close out the episode with Tao arriving at his classroom and getting a pair of Kobe's for his father's passing. Like, I know he's a sneakerhead at this point, because don't give me a pair of Kobe's because my dad passed away. Like, come on, like out of all, no condolences, no bottle, no nothing. It's just man. I know you're gonna like these Kobe's more than flowers. No, my brother, no. A card would be better than the Kobe's.
But hey, they could have been worse, bro. They could have been like some Team Jordans or something. So he looked out. He looked out for him. Kobe's might get some, some ball time.
I ain't even gonna front. I'd do a pair of Team Jordans before you like give me a pair of Hokas or something. I'm be mad as shit, nigga. I'm not going running after this.
Hey, real talk. Hey, real talk. Somebody pulled up with them joints. They disrespected me. Real talk. Because you know damn well.
I mean, man, you just wasted $200 on shoes I will never wear.
Do they cost that much?
Yeah, it was $200, man.
That's some bullshit. Never. I would give them 200 and leave out with nothing. Because I would never.
I ain't working in nobody's ER. I'm not a registered RN. Why do I need a pair of these shoes? But the big reveal here is, as the rest of the class comes in, he finds a bag on his podium, and inside the bag is the missing chess piece he's been looking for all this time. And when he peeled back part of the chess piece, the number's 103 at the bottom of the chess piece. Just what did you think about that reveal of who could have possibly been setting up this thing this whole time to play this type of game with Tao?
No clue. Absolutely no clue. I really don't. I'm like, okay, but I mean, again, I think the only thing I did took from, but we already talked about it earlier, is that the chess piece is now become the more of the focal point in terms of putting this together. So I'm curious about, what does the number mean? Who said it there? And how does the piece play any other additional parts? So yeah, it's the maid. It's the maid.
Yeah. Wow.
It's always
the butler
maid.
did it.
The butler, yeah, because Scooby-Doo.
Hey, no, if Scooby-Doo, it's Uncle Jack, because we already know Mariah's had her mind up. It's red herring no matter what. She don't care. Whatever this points to anybody else here, she knows exactly who did it. But what did you think about your closing thoughts on episode 2 of The Emperor of Ocean Park?
I'm still getting used to the show, so it's been good so far. In full transparency, we're covering the show weekly, but a lot of me want to just go through all of it. Seriously, like it feels very binge worthy. But I think they are trying to do as best of a job as they can to really build the suspense, add the cliffhangers, and really drag the mystery out so that you want to return week after week. But like, a lot of me wants to just watch the episodes back to back. But it's good. It's good. I think I'm really digging Grantham as the lead. Obviously, having Forrest, you can never go wrong. Tiffany has been fantastic.
Killing it.
Henry has not appeared in this episode as Addison, and then you still got Uncle Jack, who's played by Tori Hansen. He hasn't shown up in this episode too, and these folks obviously brought so much to the first episode that on performances alone, you're kind of like, all right, let's get to the next episode. I know they got to come back, and they bring so much to these characters that it kind of keeps you locked in. Also, speaking of that, I feel like, is it me, or has Keith Powers just been showing up everywhere all of a sudden? I feel like it's just been really just showing up all of a sudden everywhere. But that was a nice.
I've seen him play a 30-year-old. Now I've seen him play a 20-year-old. Like, I don't, at this point, I don't know how old Keith Powers is. I had sites I did at this point. He's one of the black men. You'd be like, man, he's between 18 and 40. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you what age was. But yes, he shows up everywhere humanly possible. And for this show, again, you're here for the performances, people. I hate to tell you this. I hate to make it sound this way, but it's very reminiscent of the first season of Your Honor, where you see a mystery unfolding, but you're going to have to wait for this mystery to unfold. Again, I'm doing a great job of just not jumping ahead. I've read this book twice. I know exactly where we're heading towards. And I love the way they're setting this up because they're not giving you hints to anything in these first 2 episodes to let you understand just how sinister this plot gets. But I'm going to tell you, just pay attention to it because it's going to be the little things that you're not paying attention to that's going to be so huge as this show goes on.
You got to let us know on these recaps. Say, make sure every little you talked about the one character appearance. So
that's all I had to let you know. A character was not introduced for no reason. You don't give a name to a character that you will never see again.
Yeah,
she could have just been random woman.
Yeah,
at the skate yard. That's it. Random woman there. Like no need for a name at all.
Yeah,
it was given a name for a reason. Again, those are little nuances. Just pay attention to it because the setup is so detailed, and that's why the show is moving the way it is. Again, that's why I said it's going to be times where it's going to have to introduce, hey, maybe a new timeline has been introduced here. These timelines are also very significant for reasons here. As we said, when we got 2007, that had to do with why the judge, his whole life changed in 2007 when he lost that confirmation hearing. And we see the impact of that on his kids. Then we go to 2009 and we see this is when he comes out of his funk, but we see a different man come out of that funk. Again, notice the impact that has on his kids from the way he is then. And then you get present time of him being no longer there and how they have to deal with that themselves.
Right.
Everything has to do with a family dynamic and a family relationship and how at different points in time the father is viewed through the eyes of the kids. So just pay all that attention. Trust me, you're going to love it as this show keeps on going on. But you can check us out again. Every week we'll be here. Emperor of Ocean Park. I think we're here Sundays at 11. I think I'm saying that time right because new episodes of this drop Sundays on MGM Plus. So again, check it out. Come and check our review out, or matter of fact, watch our review and then go watch the episode. It works. It works either way. It works either way here. And then let us know about what did you think in this episode about the relationship between Tal and Mariah and how that's working. How do you think about Mariah being obsessed with Uncle Jack? Who do you possibly think sent these goons at Tal to find out this information about this mysterious character named Lisa? Again, you can check us out every week. Is there anything else? I think I'm done.
I think the only thing I want, one other thing I want to say, well, for obsession, I can't even talk. Obsession with being Uncle Jack. I think it also should be noted that we need to kind of talk about how Tal's this very much chill demeanor of like, oh, he just died of natural causes in old age, and why he's not even willing to entertain that at all. And now with the FBI at his steps and the missing chess piece, when does it start to become when does the idea? Yes, when does the idea something is like, oh, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe there is some foul play. So that's also another point I'm really looking forward to and seeing when the two of them kind of flip sides here. When they realize it's not Uncle Jack and they also realize it wasn't natural cause. Does that align the two of them finally? I don't know. We'll see.
There you go. Clearly, I'm not answering that question. Yes. We'll see as we tune back in next week if that line is blurred just a little bit more. Peace, people.